Okay, folks, finals review take two. Here's kind of the like a guide you use, and you can use it on the final to solve it. So when I look at an equation, I want to know how many answers there are, and this one would have 2 because we have x to the second power. Now, what method are we going to use to solve it? Okay, we're either using set boxes or x squared equals x equals. Now, if you can find an x that's not to the second power right there, then it's set boxes, okay? It's when I don't have that. If I don't have an x that's not to the second power, I do the x squared equals x equals. Okay, so we're set, okay? And I'm going to want to put a 1 in front of that x squared right there. Now that you're set, you have 1, 2, 3 terms. So 3 terms is GCF and then the T table. Okay, and the 3 things I check for in a GCF is our first number negative, is x on all 3 of my terms, and the GCF calculator of the 3 numbers. So the first number is negative right here. So we need to put a negative here, a negative, and then a negative under all the lines. Okay. Okay, is x on all 3? Well, x second, x first, but no x here, so I don't use x. Get that out of there. Okay. Then I GCF 1, 3, and 18. And I get 1 as the GCF. Okay, so negative 1, since it's negative 1, I actually do it, okay? So negative 1 divided by negative 1 is 1, and then x to the second remains. Positive 3 divided by negative 1 is negative 3, and then x remains. And then positive, and put that in parentheses right there. Positive 18 divided by negative 1 is negative 18, so minus 18. Now I didn't put fail, so we go to the ABC, then I do my T table. So I take positive 1 times negative 18. It's negative 18. So because I got a negative, that makes this a minus. And I'm trying to get to 3, which is negative. Okay, 1 and 18, that's not it. 18 divided by 2 is 9. But 9 minus 2 is not 3. 18 divided by 3 is 6. 6 minus 3 is 3, so we have it. My 3 is negative up here, so we're going to have negative 6, and I cross that out. And when I have a negative up there, it's opposite. The signs have to be opposite. So it's minus 6 and plus 3. Okay. Now my A is 1x to the second power. Okay, so when I make my parentheses, I start with 1x. Then I go plus 3 and 1x, and then minus 6. So now I divide 2 at a time. So 1 and 3, the GCF's 1. So I'll divide by 1, which means it'll stay the same, 1x plus 3. Okay, 1 and 6, the GCF on here is also 1, so I divide by 1, and 1x minus 6 stays. Okay, so that negative 1 that's up in my GCF box, I drop that down here, but since it doesn't have an x with it, I don't F label it. F1, F2, and then equals 0. So 1x plus 3 could equal 0, or 1x minus 6 could equal 0. Okay, so I dot my x's, and then I minus 3. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Then I divide by 1, and negative 3 divided by 1 keeps it at negative 3. Then I plus 6. 0 plus 6 is 6, so 1 times x equals 6. Then I divide by 1. 6 divided by 1 is 6. So those are the 2 answers at the end. Okay, my next one, how many answers? Well, there's 2 because it's x to the second. Okay, and then my method's right here. Are you able to find an x that's not to the second? Yeah, right there. So again, it's set boxes, which means I go here. So with set boxes, make sure you're set first off, which you are, and now count your terms. 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 terms, GCF and table. And it doesn't say fail either. Okay, so GCF is the first, again, the negative, the X, and the GCF calculator. So negative, you do have a negative in front again, so we need a negative here, here, and then under all 3 lines. Okay, do we have X on all 3 of these? No, not on 2, so we don't need to worry about doing an X. Okay, 3, 7, and 2 is 1 as the GCF. Okay, so negative 1. If it's negative 1, you have to go through with it. So that gives me positive 3x to the second. Negative 7 divided by negative 1 is positive 7. X stays. Negative 2 divided by negative 1 is plus 2. Okay, put that in parentheses. Okay, I go A, B, C. So I take positive 3 times positive 2. That's 6, positive this time, so this will be an add problem trying to get to 7, which is positive. 6 plus 1 is 7, so you got it right away. So my 7's plus means what? Plus 6, and when I have a positive up with the number on top, the signs have to be the same. Okay, now what's my A? My A is 3x to the second power. Okay, so again, when I set those 4 parentheses up, I start with 3x, 3x, and then plus 1 and plus 6. Okay, so 3 and 1, it's going to be 1. Okay, so GCF's 1, so that'll stay 3x plus 1. Okay, then I go to my computer in 3 and 6. The GCF's 3, okay? So that'll become 1x plus 2 when I divide both of those by 3. Now my negative 1 comes down here because that is a factor, but it's not an F factor because it doesn't have x. My F factors are here, okay? So 3x plus 1 could equal 0, or 1x plus 2 could equal 0. So we dot our x's. And I'm minus 1. Okay, 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So 3 dot x equals negative 1. Then I divide by 3. And negative 1 divided by 3 is negative 0.3 repeating. Okay, then I'm minus 2, and that's negative 2. Then I divide by 1, which keeps it at negative 2. So there's my 2 answers. Okay, next page. 4x to the second power plus 8x minus 7 is 0. So how many answers? This one would have 2. Are you able to find an x not to the second? Yep, right here. So it's the set boxes. Okay. So you are set. If you see the 0, you're set. Okay. And now underline your terms and count them. So that's 3 again. So same thing. So GCF and the big table. Now GCF, the negative x and the GCF. Is the first number negative? No, it is not, so I don't do a negative here. Okay. Is x on all 3 terms? Well, it's on 4, it's on 8, but not on 7. Okay. So then I go 4, 8, and 7 into that calculator. And I got 1. If the GCF's 1 without the negative, we're going to skip that step. We're not going to do a GCF. Okay. Now, go A, B, C, okay? But I put fail. So you're going to put a big fail sign. And if it fails, we do the quadratic formula. Okay, that's the sum. So so opposite of b, plus or minus the square root, b, double your parentheses at the beginning, b squared minus 4ac over 2a over 2a. So a equals b equals c equals. Well, my a is 4. My b is 8, positive 8. And my c is negative 7. Okay, so the opposite of b. Now, my b right now is plus 8, okay? So I make that one opposite by putting a negative in front of it. And then b, that one's not opposite, though. That's just 8, okay? Put an 8 above it. 4, and then a is 4. Then c is negative 7. Negative 7. This a down here is 4, okay? So the first thing I do is I take 2 times 4, which is 8, okay? Then I figure out what that square root is, okay? So I go second. The square root is the fourth key from the bottom. You need 2 parentheses at the beginning. Then 8, close it. Second power's here. Minus, parentheses 4, parentheses 4, parentheses negative 7. If you don't put your 7 as a negative, it screws it up. 13.26. So cross that out and put 13.26. So now these are the numbers. We have the plus, minus, 13.26, and 8. So I take negative 8, and first I plus 13.26. Hit equals, and then divide by 8. You got to hit equals first. 0.65. Okay. Then I take negative 8 minus 13.26 equals, and then divide by 8. Negative 2.65. Okay, so if you see that fail, then when you get to the table, write fail and you set up your quadratic formula. Okay, number 4. There's 2 answers. Now the method, do you have an x not to the second power? No, you don't. So this is x squared equals x equals. So when you have that, put those 2 things out here, okay? And what you do, you don't make any boxes. You dot your x and circle it. You have a plus 25, so minus 25, minus 25 from negative 2. So negative 2 minus 25 is negative 27. Now, we have the dot number is negative 3, so then I divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3, and then I can go down here after I divide. Negative 27 divided by negative 3 is 9. Now go to your multiplication table, which is stapled on this sheet, and look on that list of numbers that go diagonal. Here's 9. 9's here. That'd be 3 and 3. So what number times itself is 9? It's 3. So you could have 3 or negative 3. And that is how you solve an x squared equals x problem. It's just simple dot and circle, but you're going to get your x squared after you divide, then use your multiplication table to find the number. Okay, the next one I have x to the third power minus 5x to the second power minus 9x plus 45 equals 0. So how many answers? Now this one would have 3 because you got x to the third, put a 1 in front of it. So 3 answers. Do we have any x's that are not to the third power? Yes, right here and right here. So now we're back to doing the set boxes. So are we set? Yep, the 0's there. Now, how many terms do you have this time? This time you have 4. So the setup for 4 is the grouping. And that's a big box. Okay, that's a big boy right there. In those parentheses, we go parentheses plus parentheses, then line parentheses plus line parentheses. Remember to get the plus sign in. That's important. then a line with a parentheses, a long line, and you're going to put a little bitty parentheses right there. Okay? And then we go for our DOPS, difference of perfect squares. And one thing, the DOPS, that's from this parentheses here. Okay? And whatever's in here just drops right down. Okay? We'll put that outside the box. Okay, now we go to our thing. 1x to the third minus 5x to the second, and then we have negative 9x plus 45. Then I underline, and I check for these three things. The negative, the x, and the GCF. So do we have a negative in front of the 1 there? Nope. Do we in front of the 9? Yep, so these have to be negative. Now, x, do you have two x's here? Yep, and the smaller one's to the second. So x seconds under there. But you don't have x on both of them here, so don't put x. Okay? Now, GCF 1 and 5. And that's 1. Okay? So 1 is with x to the second. And then the 9 and the 45, I got 9. Okay? So whatever we're dividing by, whatever's under these lines, now goes into the space. So we put 1x to the second here, and then negative 9 there. Now 1 divided by 1 is 1, and on the x's we take 3 minus 2, which is 1. Okay? And then negative 5 divided by 1 is negative 5, so I put minus 5, and since these x's are to the same power, they cross out. And then here, negative 9 divided by negative 9 is 1, and the x's stays with the 1. And then I take positive 45 divided by negative 9, and that's negative 5. Now look in each parentheses. Get rid of the first power. You notice how they're the same thing? They're the same. So put 1x minus 5 out here, okay? And you can also drop that down here in the front. Now, what do you have left? You have 1x to the second and negative 9. So because 9's negative, we put a subtraction sign. Now, DOPS is x to the second there. Looks like it to me, so x. Is the second number negative? Yep, looks like it is. 9 is. Now, are the numbers perfect squares? So go to your multiplication table and try to find 1 and 9 in that diagonal row. Well, 1's here, that's 1, 1. And then 9. Well, 9's here, that's 3, 3. Okay? So there we have it. Okay? Put our equals 0. Remember, that one just drops down. Whatever's in each parentheses comes out here, then it drops down. So F1, F2, F3. And that will get me to my 3 answers. So 1x minus 5 could equal 0. 1x plus 3 could equal 0. 1x minus 3 equals 0. So dot circle. Then plus 5. 0 plus 5 is 5. But when I divide by 1, I still am at 5. So 5 is the first answer. Minus 3, that's negative 3. Divide by 1, that keeps us at negative 3. Plus 3, 1 times x equals 3. Divide by 1, and that keeps us at 3. Okay, my next problem, number 6. 3x to the second power minus 2x equals 7x. Okay. How many answers? Well, the highest power, we have a second. What method? Okay. Or do you have any x's not to the second? Yep. So again, it's set boxes. But you got a little problem here. You're not set because you don't have 0. So you set it yourself and go from there. Anything on this side of the equals needs to switch. So x second, I just got 3. Okay. X's, we have these two numbers, but I have to switch that one to minus 7x. And then I minus it with the negative 2x. So I take negative 2 minus 7, negative 9. Now this blank gets crossed out because you don't have anything left And now that you're set, how many terms you got? You just have 2. Okay, so 2 terms is GCF DOPS. So okay, so again, GCF, same thing. We check for the negative in the front. We check for X on both terms, and then the GCF calculator. Okay, the first number is not negative, so we don't do anything with negative. Now, do you have X on both terms? Yeah, you got X second and X to the first. So you take your smaller one, X first, and put it there, there, and under the lines. Okay. Okay, and then the GCF for 3 and 9 is 3. Okay. So I will also be taking a 3 with my X to the first. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and on the X, 2 minus 1 is 1. Put that in parentheses every time on a GCF. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3, so I'm going to put minus 3. And then since those X's are to the same power, we get rid of those. Okay, now on your DOPS, you're looking at the second parentheses, okay? Is X to the second there? No, it's just to the first, so we get rid of the DOPS. We get rid of our first powers then, and this is my F1, and that's my F2, and it equals 0. Okay, so F1 is 3x, and F2 is 1x minus 3. Okay, so dot and circle. So we divide, you go straight to division if there's no plus or minus. So that's 0 divided by anything, 0. And plus 3, 0 plus 3 is 3. Divide by 1, and 3 divided by 1 is 3. Okay. So again, you can't be scared to cross the DOPS box off if it's not. Now with these parentheses problems, we're going to turn this over. And the question is whether it's blocked or it's not blocked. Well, the second power's out. If I have a power outside, that means it is blocked. Okay. So what do we do if it's blocked? Rewrite the equation with h to the second. So that parentheses is replaced with h to the second. There will be a 3 in front, and there's no addition or subtraction after, so I put equals 108. Then what do I do? Okay. Well, I'm going to write h second equals, followed by h equals, similar to how I do the x squared x, and then I need to make a table with the equals, okay? Now, what's in that parentheses? X plus 3. Put a 1 in front of the x. Okay, now, just like the x, I dot and circle. Now, there's no plus or minus, so I go straight to the dividing by 3. And after I divide, I come down here. So 108 divided by 3 is 36. Now, what number times itself is 36? I need to go to my multiplication table. And here's 36 is there. That'd be 6 and 6. Okay? So h is 6. But when I go to my table, I go 6 and negative 6. Then dot your x's. Minus 3. 6 minus 3 is 3. Divide by 1, and we're at 3. These always have 2 answers when it's blocked. Then minus 3. Negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9. And then dividing by 1 will keep you at negative 9. And that's my 2 answers. Okay. Okay, number 8. Okay. Look at your parentheses. You're not blocked. So if I'm not blocked, we do the rainbows. Put a 1 in front. 4 times 1x is 4x. And then just put the minus sign. Put whatever sign's there. And then 4 times 2 is 8. And then plus 3 equals 59. Now I dot and circle my x. Okay. Then undo plus and minus outside. You undo both of these. So minus 8 goes to plus 8 with 59. And the plus 3 goes to minus 3 under plus 8. So you got 4.x equals, then I take 59 plus 8 minus 3, and I get 64. Then I divide, and this is my one answer. 64 divided by 4 is 16. I don't need to worry about the number to the second power or any of that. Okay, story problems. Keep your eye on that. A missile is launched into the air with a velocity of 500 feet per second from a starting height of 25 feet. After how many seconds will the missile reach a height of 0 feet? So again, the two units, I have them underlined, so feet and seconds. X is seconds, Y is feet. So per feet per second. And I know that's 500, okay? Now, a missile's going to go up, but gravity pulls it back down, okay? So our missile starts at 25 feet, okay? That should be before the 500 feet per second I screwed up. And it ends at 0 feet, okay? It says it so, 0 feet. Now, parabolas, we need a big box, okay? And we go blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank equals y. Now, this is a gravity problem. We use negative 16 to represent gravity on my x squared. Then the feet per second up here is 500. Then 25 feet's my starting height, and 0 feet is my ending height. This would go in for my y. Okay. Okay, now I go to my equation solving strategies here. So how many answers do I have? There'd be 2. Do you have any x? What method? Well, we also have this x that isn't to the second, so it's set, and I draw my boxes. So for set, your zeros here, so you are set. You don't have to set it. And we have 3 terms, okay? GCF table. Keep your eye on that, though. Okay, so GCF, and then my table, just like I always do with 3. So the GCF, 3 things we check for. The negative on the first number is x on all 3 terms, and then our GCF calculator. Now the negative's there in front, so you need a negative, and then a negative under your lines. You won't be able to skip that. Is x on all 3? No, not on 25, so I don't do anything with x. And then the GCF out of 16, 500, and 25 is 1, okay, I think. Yeah, it's 1. But it's negative, so we actually go through with it, okay? So negative 16 divided by negative 1 is positive 16x to the second. And that will switch the 500 to minus 500x. And that goes to minus 25. And now my table, I do it at A, B, C. But I put fail, so it's a fail. Okay? So we use our quadratic formula. Opposite of B, plus or minus d square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now, I need to know what a, b, and c are in this formula. So my a is 16, my b is negative 500, and my c is negative 25. Okay? So the opposite of b. Now b is negative 500, but I will be switching that to positive 500. Okay. And then b itself would just be the negative 500, negative 500, and then 4, and then a is 16. Then c is negative 25. Okay. Then my a down at the bottom, 16. So 2 times 16 is 32. Use a calculator if you don't know it. Now we got to figure out my square root. So I need double parentheses at the beginning. So I go second, 4 keys up, double it, negative 500, close it to the second power, minus 4, 16, and negative 25. I got 501.59. Cross it out. 501.59. And I got 500 plus minus 501.59 and 32. So I take 500 plus 501.59 equals, and then divide by 32. 31.29. Then I take 500 minus 501.59 equals, divide by 32, negative 0.04. Now the higher answer is the one I put over here. So it'd be 31.29 seconds. It's a missile, so it takes a while. Okay, then finally, last one. A picture has dimensions of 16 by 20 inches, as you can see. We're going to build a frame around the outside. The frame's new area will be 396 square inches. The frame's new area will, okay, yeah, and I say it again. How many inches wide should the frame be? So we got 16, and the outsides are X, and that's what we're trying to figure out is what the X should be. So down here, we need to find our length times width. Don't write that right beside it, okay? Just if you don't want to put it at all, that's fine. So I need to multiply my length by my width. The length's the bottom. You have 2 X's and a 16. Then the width, I have 2 X's plus a 20. Now multiply that out. So 2X times 2X, you're going to start with 2X, and you'll be timesing by the other 2X and by 20. And then 16, repeat the process. Okay, so 2X and 20 again. Okay, put first powers on your X's. So 2 times 2 is 4, and then I take 1 plus 1, which is 2. 2 times 20 is 40, x to the first. 16 times 2 would be 32 with x to the first, and 16 times 20 is 320 with nothing. So go organize your like terms with your blanks. And you have 4. 40 plus 32 is 72, and then 320. Okay, so I arrange that. 4x to the second plus 72x plus 320. Okay. Now I go into my equation solving. How many answers? There would be 2. And the method, well, that x isn't to the second, so that would be set boxes. But you're not set because you don't have 0. So blank x squared plus blank equals 0. So x second, you just got 4. Okay, whatever's over here, we switch. X, you have the 72. Non-x, you have these two. We switch this one. So put a plus and then you minus it right away from your plus 320. So 320 minus 396 is negative 76. Okay, and now we're set. Now how many terms do I have? Looks like 3, so GCFT. And I didn't write fail on this one, so we will not use the quadratic formula. Okay, so you have GCF, same way. Is first number negative? Is X on all your 3 terms? And GCF calculator. Okay, my first number is not negative this time, so we don't do a negative anywhere. Do all of them have X? Nope, 76 doesn't. Then I GCF the 4, 72, and 76. And I got 4. Okay, so I'm going to do 4. Parenthesize it. Now 4 divided by 4 is 1x to the second. That's our A now. 72 divided by 4 is 18. That's our B. Negative 76 divided by 4 is negative 19. Minus 19 is my C. So I do my table. I don't write fail because I didn't put that anywhere. So I take 1 times negative 19, and that's negative 19. So I got a negative, so that means it's a minus. And I'm trying to get that to 18, which is plus. Well, right away I find it. 19 minus 1 is 18. So 18 plus means you got plus 19. And when I have a negative, the signs are the opposite. Okay. Now my A is 1x to the second power. So when I do my parentheses, the 1x to seconds are easy. Okay. So it'll be 1x, and then minus 1 plus 19. Now the GCF with 1 and 1 is just 1. So that'll stay 1x minus 1. 1 and 19 is 1, so that'll stay 1x plus 19. Okay, so I have my parentheses. I did have my GCF of 4, so when that's there, we want to drop that. But since there's no x, I don't put an F label, just the last two. Okay, so 1x minus 1 could equal 0, or 1x plus 19 could equal 0. So dot your x and circle. You're going to add 1, and that's 1. 1 dot x equals 1. Divide by 1. You're still at 1, so you got 1 as your first answer. Then minus 19. 0 minus 19 is negative 19. Then divide by 1, and that keeps you at negative 19. Now, over here, I will write inches, okay? I will write that, and you pick the greater one, which would be 1, okay?